Hey guys, so welcome to CES 2025, and I'm here joined by Adrian Van Hooydonk, the BMW Group Head of Design. You're quite active on social media lately, so honestly, I think people now connect you more and more with the brand than in the past, and that's a good thing, you know, and that's exactly why I wanted to share with you today on camera, go behind the scenes a little bit of what's going on here tomorrow, and then maybe we can dive into some Neue Klasse things and other products, not much future products, maybe we touch a little bit on that as well. Big unveil tomorrow, it's the day before CES. Tell me what you're excited about, what's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty cool show tomorrow. We're going to talk about our new user interface that is going to go into all Neue Klasse vehicles. And it's quite a big change in the way you're going to operate the vehicle, the way you can personalize the vehicle. And I think we built a very nice setup here, befitting for Las Vegas. Actually, we supersized the car. So you're going to see a super big dashboard, steering wheel, and a panoramic vision screen. And we're going to take you through how it works and what it could look like.
Okay, so since we're going to publish this video anyway tomorrow, I can show the footage by that time. But maybe let's talk about what made you change pretty much the entire concept of user interface inside the BMW from iDrive 8.5 and 9 to X, and why all these layers? Because we can explain there are 3 layers basically from what I know: a central display, then you have the panoramic vision and a head-up display. How did this idea come to life basically?
Well, we're BMW, so we're always focusing on the driving experience, and we always want to enhance that. At the same time, we know that our customers, as much as they love driving, they also lead a digital life, right? And they want that digital life to continue in the car. So the big question ahead of us was, or has been actually for a while, how to merge these two things that don't quite seem to go together. Driving sensation, focused driving, and dealing with some entertainment or other information items in the car.
Okay. So now let's talk about Neue Klasse, right? Huge year for BMW. I guess you're going to start first off with an SUV. Tell me, what does the Neue Klasse design means for the brand and some of the changes, right? Because I'm assuming going from this current design language to the next one, it's a completely different paradigm.
Yeah, I would say so. I would think that the Neue Klasse is a bigger step in design and technology than the one that we normally do between generations. I sometimes say that this skips one vehicle generation. And the reason is that we see big changes in technology, in our electric drive system, in intelligence of the vehicle, in the digital aspects of the vehicle. And with all of that change in technology, we felt that a bigger change in design would probably be fitting. And that's what you're going to see in the now not too distant future, because it's going to happen this year. In the autumn, you're going to see the finished article. The
crossover. Okay, so if we go into a little bit more details as far as the design, a lot of people are asking this question. We've seen the Vision X Neue Klasse SUV crossover, then we've seen the sedan, and we've seen 2 different interpretations of the iconic, kidney grille, basically. Will you separate further the 2 lineups? So you'll have the crossover with that smallish, kidney grille, and then you have the illuminated lights and all that new interpretation of the kidney grille on the sedans, or you will unify them at some point?
No. There will be some variation in among the lineup of cars. What holds them together is this, that we're going to replace chrome with light. So the iconic features, let's say the double headlamps, the kidney grille, are going to be outlined with light. Then we're going to have a graphical unit that ties it all together, like we used to have on a BMW 2002. When you know that car, and I think most of your viewers do, then you'll notice that, of course, it was very analog technology, but the kidney-shaped grille and the headlamps were held together by a black graphical unit. Mm-hmm. We're going to have that on all Neue Klasse models, but the shape and the size is going to vary. Inside that graphical unit, there's also some clever sensors that are going to make the car intelligent and help the car drive autonomously. So it's going to be a totally new look and feel in the exterior. But I would almost say that the biggest changes are happening in the interior, where we're going to clean up dramatically. It's going to be, I think, warmer, more human. And I think we found a very clever way in merging, let's say, the digital life aspect with the driving aspect. And the key element to that is the panoramic vision display.
If we're talking a little bit more about the design of this Neue Klasse, there are two different set of feedback that I see currently. So one of them is people that are concerned that they will buy a future 3 Series, for example, an ICE version, combustion version, and then they will see the new, let's say, i3 electric or 3 Series electric, and there is this concern that the cars will be considerably different. Like the Neue Klasse will be the more futuristic looking, and the ICE version will be more classic. At the same time, there is another current going on, or another feedback going on, is that people actually like what you've done currently, where you don't differentiate too much in between electric cars and traditional cars, and they don't like the approach that Mercedes, for example, took and split the lines. Yeah. What's your vision on this? Which one would make sense for the BMW brand?
Our vision is that we're going to bring that together. Neue Klasse starts with some electric vehicles first, but most of those technologies, certainly the digital technologies, certainly also the user interface, and even the design language, we will be able to also transport into our ICE vehicles. So it's going to be kicked off by some electric cars, but it's going to encompass the entire vehicle lineup, the entire brand, all the propulsion systems.
Okay, understood. So now, follow-up question on that. I saw another feedback actually just yesterday, because I asked people to send some questions in, and somebody said, will you still have the typical BMW long hood, short overhangs in a electric car, because that's not really needed, or would you try to maximize more space inside and go away from the iconic BMW design items or icons?
Well, BMWs are meant to be authentic in terms of design. They will always look dynamic, even when they're standing still. And let's say whether they are a battery electric vehicle or an ICE, they're always fast and dynamic. So they should look that way. And there might be a slight difference in a dash to axle between an electric car and a combustion engine car, because we don't just have any type of combustion engine. We have these long 6-cylinder inline cars, and that's what makes these long bonnets. The electric car doesn't need it so much, like you say. It actually then will give slightly more interior space, so it's not like we're taking something away from the customer, we're also giving something back. But I would like to see you look at both cars then in some time from now, and I think you'll be hard pressed from a distance telling me which one is the electric one and which one is the combustion engine. It's going to be that close.
Interesting. So follow up on that, someone had a follow-up question that was, to what extent do you sacrifice form in order to satisfy function today? Because historically BMW was more about function over form. Is that changing in design today, especially with electric cars?
No, I wouldn't say so, no. In BMW it's always been about the driving, but it has always also been about emotion. And our job as designers, I'm an industrial designer, we want our products to be produced also on a daily basis. Let's say each of our factories puts out 1,000 cars a day. You want that as a designer. So that means that, yes, in order to achieve that, the cars have to be emotionally attractive immediately, but they also have to work very well, because that's what gives you customer satisfaction over a long, long time. And the way it works inside our company is that I, as a designer, when I drive home at night, I want the car to drive really well, and I want it to work really well. And when the engineer drives home at night, he or she wants the car also to look really good. Mm-hmm. So we have a mutual interest, let's say, and we're working maybe in different parts, but to the same goal.
Gotcha. So you spoke of emotions, and that's clearly a huge component of the BMW brand and everybody that buys the cars from you. One question that I have is, visible exhaust pipes still serve a purpose on ICE cars? Do you see that, like seeing the visible pipes on a car is still something that's emotional that you would like to keep on non-M cars? Because we clearly see that. But today we see these new combustion power cars, and all the exhaust pipes are being hidden in favor of a cleaner design. Do you think that's going to make a comeback, where you still want to show off that you have ICE cars?
Hard to tell. I think we've proven that we can make cars look dynamic and cool without it. The i4, to me, is a car that looks very dynamic, very sporty. It doesn't have it. Of course, there is an ICE version, and then you have it. But again, you have to. When we looked at the i4 before, you never really knew that you were missing that. Now, for an M customer, of course, probably a different story. So we have it there. I think it's not a problem to make a car look attractive and sporty and dynamic without it. What we don't want to do is fake things. Okay. We don't like that.
Yeah, that's a big thing today. A lot of brands do that, so that's kind of what I was leading to. So before we move away from digital things and Neue Klasse, People wanted to know if you ever consider bringing back like the 80 and 90s iconic dashboards and classic dashboards in the digital world.
Why not? It could be a skin, let's say, that could be a fun thing to do at some point. You'll see at the show tomorrow what Panoramic iDrive is capable of, and who knows where that leads to.
Okay, understood. Let's talk about ALPINA. So very, very soon the brand will switch over to BMW hands basically completely. What's the future for ALPINA? Without revealing, of course, design details and all of that, but how do you envision the brand fitting within the current BMW lineup?
Well, it's a brand that has always been very complementary to all the other cars that we were doing, and that's what we want it to stay, right? We don't want it to become like M. We want it to stay as it is, ALPINA, something that is complementary to our lineup. And it's about luxury, but in a very, very refined way. The cars are never slow, but they're also not so track focused like the M cars are. So that's why actually we acquired ALPINA, because we always felt that it was a very, very nice addition to our lineup of vehicles, and we want to stay very true to what it always has been.
Okay, so let's assume that you're building this additional layer of luxury on top of the 7 Series and the XM and all of that. Are you concerned that you're going to step on the toes of a Rolls-Royce, for example, at that point, especially if the two products will look different than today? Because today an ALPINA looks very close to a BMW, and in the future it could look significantly different or even more luxurious. Are you afraid you're going to step on their toes?
No, I'm not afraid, because I know the solution, of course, already, and that's what you're asking me for.
Okay.
A little bit early now to show it to you, but no, it will be very different from Rolls-Royce, because we've developed, I think, Rolls-Royce since many, many years into a very modern type of luxury vehicle, and it's moved up market actually significantly. No Rolls-Royce leaves the factory looking like the other one. We don't need to borrow anything from Rolls-Royce to make an ALPINA. ALPINA never did that either. It was always called BMW ALPINA, and that's what it's going to stay. But it will definitely add something to a BMW. It won't be a normal BMW, obviously.
So now my other favorite brand actually are the BMW Group, the Minis. I love them, always did, always loved driving them. What's the future of Mini? Mini cars or Maxi Minis? How do you envision this future? Because I see, once again, two different feedbacks. A lot of people are nostalgic and they love the mini minis. Then at the same time, people want practicality and they want the Maxi Minis. How do you envision the future of their brand? Because it's clearly in a interesting spot, to put it that way, today.
Yeah, well, I see a very positive future for Mini, because these are cars for fun-loving people. Who doesn't want that? They are, in and of itself, smaller than most cars in the segment. Now, of course, they are a little bit bigger than the original Mini, which was super tiny. I used to have one actually. But if you take on board all the safety requirements, nothing to do with design just yet, all the safety requirements, let's say any car today has 12 airbags and stuff like that. Then you put electrification in the car, then inevitably even a Mini will be slightly bigger than the original Mini. It's not because we wanted it, but it's inevitable, because that's, let's say, where the safety requirements are at today. And I think people want to be safe, right? There's no way around that. Now, the future, I think, looks positive, because we now offer a lineup of 3 very distinct cars, also different in size, right? With the Countryman growing up a little bit in size. I think that's typically also what customers in the US have asked us for. Customers in Europe have actually asked us to shrink the SUV a little bit, which we did now with the Aceman, exactly. And then, okay, the core Mini needs to be as close to the original as any way possible. And certainly in spirit, I think it does so, especially in the interior, where we cleaned it up even more. We have only the one big round display, 5 toggles, that's it, round steering wheel, of course. I think it's now even closer to the original than it ever was. And yes, a bit more safety and a bit more roominess.
I mean, it's interesting because ICE versions are making a comeback in the Mini world as well. So people are asking for more ICE Minis, combustion power Minis, than electric. So definitely interesting future there. So I'm looking forward to see what's coming out of that in the next few years. But speaking of one of your probably favorite projects to date, and coach building and all of that, BMW Skytop.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite cars that I've seen in the last few years, aside from that Touring Coupe, which is amazing as well. And this one, we finally managed to push it through. Car went on sale. I'm assuming it was sold out from what I heard.
Yes.
So that's one thing. When do you start deliveries for that car or production, and will it look similar to what you've shown in the concept car?
Yes, it will be very, very similar. There's only one or two, let's say, park distance sensors that we didn't put in the show car that will be there. But it will be like the concept car. That, of course, is essential also because we are talking to customers that really want to know what they're getting, and they want that, the car that we show, that Villa d'Este. And to your question, when will we produce them? We will produce them all this year, and we will deliver them all in this year.
Okay, so may I ask the question, are you going to keep the same color as well? Because I know the paint job wasn't easy to do. Okay, so same one. And the lights are all production ready, so they satisfy all the requirements?
Exactly like that. They are the slimmest headlamps that I've ever seen on any car. And I was very happy that our engineering team actually came up with that technology, because it's a large part of what makes this car, I think, so special. Also the tail lamp, super slim. I love doing these kind of projects, you would imagine. It's really, I think, something very, very unique, highly emotional, very elegant, and powerful at the same time. It's a cool car, and I've met, I think, all of the customers or spoken to them that are going to take delivery of that car. They are all super excited, they can't wait. And believe me, they have a few cars already, and they're still super excited about this thing. So I think we struck a nerve there.
Gotcha. How did you manage the production? Are you doing everything in-house, or you're working with a coach builder? Because it's always tough to do a 50 units off the production line and all of that.
It's a mix. We're not doing it off a regular production line. We found a clever way of doing this offline, so to speak.
Similar to the CSL, or similar process of the 3.0 CSL?
Similar, yeah. So it's a mix of suppliers and ourselves. But you know, we talked earlier about our factories, and they produce 1,000 cars a day. Doing 50, a batch of 50 to them would be a big disturbance. But you know, they're looking at what we're doing, and they want to play with us. They want to do more of that. So who knows how we're going to do it in the future.
So since you figure out how to get this through the board and approved and all of that, will you love to see something in the future that's similar, like still limited numbers, coach build? We've talked about it like in the past, and I know you have a soft spot for that, and it was always tough to get the first one through, but is this something that you want to continue doing, considering that you're selling all of them at a very high price?
I'm glad you asked that question. That's the easy one. I was afraid you were going to ask me how I did that. I don't want to really talk about that.
That's off the record probably conversation.
No, I think yes, we should continue doing that, because I think you know, you see how it worked out now for the second time in a row. We managed to get something very unique, almost hand-built out there, and get it actually produced, and there was more than enough interest to do these 50 units. I think it's a good thing to do, because we're in the business of creating dreams and sometimes realizing them. That's, I think, good for any brand, and it certainly has been good for BMW, I think.
So 3 more questions and then we're done, I promise. And I have to ask this. I always stay away from this one because it's not been one of my favorite questions over time. It's been making a comeback, the BMW supercar and all of that. And I always stayed away because I don't feel like personally the brand needs that yet. I feel like they need more sports cars, CSL types, and even smaller than that. But there's been a lot of articles being written on lately, and a book came out and talked about some failed projects, and they're all cool. But what's your take on this? Does the brand need a supercar? And if it does, ICE, electric, what would make sense for you? That's your chance to push the case through, maybe.
Nice question. Well, I'm a designer, right? And we just talked about chasing dreams.
Yeah, that's one, yeah.
This is a dream also for me. I can be honest on that, and I've been chasing it for a long, long time. And we've done several things already. Some saw the light of day, others didn't, and we will never give up on ideas like that. Okay. It's always a question of finding the right moment in time, finding the right technology, finding a window of opportunity to doing something like that. It's not just me that is chasing this dream. There's more people inside the company that have the heart in the right place, believe me.
So why do you think the i16 failed then? I mean, it was a done deal, the i16 M Next Vision M Next project. It looked like a done deal, it was beautiful. Do you think it was more like a technology fit to the market? It was a plug-in hybrid, allegedly. Why do you think that car didn't have enough to get to market? Because it looked amazing, honestly, from my point of view, and I'm not a designer.
It was a question of priorities.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a running car, drove beautifully. I thought it looked quite good as well.
It looked amazing,
like you said. But then you always have limited resources, limited amount of time and money that you need to put somewhere. And the problem is each car costs the same amount of time and resources to build. And at that time, we fast-tracked XM, which we saw as having a higher potential to add to our lineup, and that's how it went.
Gotcha.
But what I always say,
sure,
you know, because I don't dwell on these things, I always look forward, and that's also what I tell my team. We as a design team, an engineering team, we have to have more ideas than the company can build, because the other way around is no option. Right?
Makes sense. Retro design. Is that something that you think it's worth pursuing today? I see a lot of brands doing these retro designs, and I mean, you've seen even the electric brands like Rivian and all of that. Is this something that's worth pursuing today, or it's time to look towards the future and leave the past?
I like to look towards the future. That's always been BMW's take in technology and in design. Now, we want to be respectful of our heritage and our history, which is rich. It's over 100 years, and it's built on driving, right? So, in the Neue Klasse, I think you can see some heritage. Yeah, cars like 2002, maybe the 3.0 CSL. I think you can see it in there, and I think that's right, because we have this heritage and we're proud of it. But if you ask me, it's 90% modern and new, 10% heritage. So retro design would be the other way around, would be 90% heritage and just 10% new, for example. But that would probably not get you far enough. And I think, like I said earlier, nowadays, new competitors popping up left, right and center. Every week there's new cars out there, all very new and modern looking. Technology changing very fast. I think now is the time to push towards more modern designs. The technology is pushing as well, but never forget your heritage, never forget where you're coming from. And I think Neue Klasse shows that.
I mean, the question popped to mind because it's the 50 years of 3 Series this year, and I was thinking about how cool it would be to have like a retro 3 Series concept car. I think people would flip. But all right, so as I said, we're getting close to the end. Let's start with this one, so 2 more questions. AI and design. Is AI helping you design cars faster, better? Because in a way you could use AI to your advantage to be more creative. I'm assuming without copying. I'm assuming that's something you plan on implementing within your team?
We're working with it. And I would say the real answer is it will one day help us do design faster. Not yet. At the moment we are building our own AI. Actually we're doing that in our DesignWorks studio in LA.
Okay. Oh yeah, I saw a demo of that, yes.
Because what we don't want to do, we don't want to use AI that's in the public domain. There is some that actually people use to create BMWs, but the BMWs look strangely familiar.
They do, because I've tried some.
So exactly, and so what we want to do is we want to teach our AI our own thinking, the things that we find cool and inspiring, and then it will be an AI like a designer that we have trained in-house. And we're pretty close to that right now. And then you begin to see already that our own AI is beginning to deliver some designs that we find interesting and new. They go beyond what we already know and beyond what you can find online, let's say, when you use the AI that's in the public domain. And it might well actually help us speed up things. but to be honest, at this moment in time, we're still at the stage where we're feeding and training our own AI. But it's going fast, as you know.
That's interesting, very interesting. Okay, so last question. Of course, we have to touch on the China thing a little bit. I mean, it's such a huge topic today from all angles, but I guess from your perspective is, how do you see the industry developing in the next few years, considering the strong competition from China, especially when it comes to design? Because you see interesting designs today versus copycats in the past. How do you look at that from your angle?
Well, there was always competition from the US, from Japan, from Korea, now from China. The funny thing is that a lot of these new Chinese brands are designed in Munich. There is 6 design studios in Munich with people that I think I know very well and that are very well trained, let's put it this way. It can be done. You can do good car design in Munich that is successful in China. I think we are proving that point. And I'm actually quite optimistic also that with Neue Klasse again, we're going to give the Chinese customers what they want. Something that is very modern, even if you don't know our heritage, that can hold its own among all the other new players. Certainly also in terms of the digital aspects of the cars. But that has one thing that most of these new players don't have. They drive like a BMW, and if you know our history, you see that it's not something that we came up with yesterday. It's something that we've been doing for over 100 years.
Well, Adrian, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All the answers as always. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.